Hey guys, so this morning I did a weightlifting session, and in this session I lifted about 10 tons of weight, and I'm gonna share why I'm doing this and what I've learned from all this experience, because I spent a lot of time in the gym. So in my last few weeks staying in Austria, I got in touch with like a local weightlifting club, and their sort of president slash their best lifter, he is like the Austrian national champion. And once when we were chatting, he said he lifted about 20 tons of weight in one session. And back then I thought, how is this possible? So I did the math, I wrote myself an own session. I could not make it up to 20 tons, but I did 10 tons instead. This is what happens. So when I'm still fresh, early in the session, I started out with some power clean triples. I started building up in increments of 10 kilograms until I couldn't clean it. So then I just did triples of clean pulls. After that I moved on to some snatch grip pulls. And then after finishing the pulling part of today's workout, I went to some upper body training with push press. And then when the weight built up, and then I go into power jack. And after that, the power session of this training is done, so then I moved on to a strength component. And this type of programming is heavily influenced by what Olympic weightlifters traditionally use. It is my weightlifting buddy who tells me that he lifts 20 tons, so it makes most sense that I make this session according to what he usually does, just less volume. And speaking of volume, the way I sort of measure how much weight I've moved in this session is just to multiply the weight on the bar, or the weight I'm moving, by the reps, by the sets. So that equates to the total volume. And the first few interesting observations start to creep up. The first one is just about the exercise of power clean itself. And power movements are tough, and they are designed to be quite taxing. And the power movement with a skill component is even tougher. So sometimes that's why some coaches will prefer not to coach or not to teach athletes how to do a power clean, and instead opt for other movement that's a bit easier. So if you want to increase your vertical jump, just train explosively. You can do squat jumps or just jump. Power clean is not a necessity, but it is a great tool if you can master it. And I am by no means good at this exercise. I am just in the beginner stage of being able to clean my body weight. And I'm still trying to get better, but I am quite fatigued since I also trained yesterday quite heavily. But yeah, today is just an experiment. So after the cleans, these are some snatch pulls. It's actually really great for your traps. Omar Yusuf also made a video about how doing Olympic weightlifting movements accidentally help him grow his neck. So if you really want to increase your neck size while also being an athlete, this might be the way to go. And snatch pull is a really interesting exercise, as it is basically a snatch grip deadlift followed by a shrug. You can do it quite explosively, but I think it's primarily a strength movement. And yes, I didn't bother recording every single set, so I just recorded some of my jumps and then put everything in a notebook like any normal human being. And as you can see, the total volume for the working sets of my pulling part adds up to about 3 tons, which is quite a lot. Going to the second interesting I've discovered whilst doing this workout is that the eccentric portion of certain lifts like power cleans and push press and even push jerks, the moment when you have to catch the weight actually is one of the most challenging parts. And that's why some of the strength and conditioning coaches also value these movements really highly, because you have to resist the bar from pushing you down, and that provides a really valuable training stimulus. If I don't have the jerk boxes like many proper weightlifting gyms do, I'll just have to catch it with my shoulders, and over time it gets quite tiring. But with all that said, don't forget your eccentrics. I haven't been doing nearly enough overhead work. That's why my push presses, my jerks are one of my biggest weaknesses. So that's why I'm doing 2 of the movements back to back in an attempt to just get them to be better. 75 kilogram was as high as I go on the power jerks. And this is the total volume for my overhead. Obviously it's gonna be less work than the pulling just because my arms are so weak and my legs are relatively stronger. But then again, our total workload is almost halfway there, and we haven't even gone to the squats yet. So by now you may have realized the goal of hitting 10 tons in one session isn't actually that ridiculous. So this is one very convoluted way to show that weights or even the sets and reps, they don't even matter that much. What matters is your intensity. You can do a quarter squat of 160 kilograms for 50 reps, which is actually a great way to prep your season, and that will get you to about 10 tons in the session. And will you achieve the same with having a variety of different exercises tackling your weak points? You can make 10 kilograms feel like the world, and you can make 100 kilograms feel very easy. It all depends on how you treat the weight and what you do with it. You can change the tempo, you can change the speed. There are many things you can do other than just piling on weights and see what happens. And yesterday, following my programming, I did some 1 1/4 squats. I only go up to about 90 kilograms, and that absolutely killed me. I can still feel it like right now. So I didn't go too hard on the squats today. I did some 130s, but they were broken down into 2 and 1. So it's not really a triple. Still, everything adds up to about 7 tons already. So for some bodybuilding movements, I just used a very simple template, pulling twice as much as you push. So I did 3 sets of 10 pull-ups, and I did 3 sets of 6 chest supported rows before I go to do some dips. And that reveals yet another thing. How do you even track the workload for bodyweight exercises? Because how much of your body is actually being moved? That also indicates one slight problem with calisthenics. It's kind of hard to track progress, but there are definitely ways you can work around this. So if I only take about 60% of my body weight as the actual weight that's being moved in my bodyweight exercises, then I can sort of go on with my calculations. And yeah, I did it, and it isn't even that ridiculous of a workout. So, well, it's been fun, and I'm gonna summarize what I've learned over here. Thank you for watching, and wait for some really spicy content coming out really soon.